What's up YouTube? I'm Alex Carpenter, and today I'm going to show you how you can create an equal height grid using Flexbox. So diving right into it, let's create some markup. We'll have a grid container, and inside of our grid we're going to have grid items. So we'll have grid item, and then for the sake of the demo I'm just going to put in a snippet for a card that we're going to use, and this is what we'll want to have equal heights. So we're going to have probably about 4 of those. 1, 2, 3. We'll just do 5. Let me format that quick. We'll save that, and we should have, okay, cool. And I already have some styles for the card started. So let's start creating our styles for our grid. So we can do grid, and we'll want to have our grid display flex. And then we'll also want our items to wrap. So we'll have to do a flex wrap, and then we wrap that. So we get that. Next, let's add our grid item. So grid item, and we want to have 3 per row. So we'll do a width, and we'll do calc 100%, and we'll multiply that by 1/3. So now we should have them. All right, cool. Next up, let's create some spacing, some gutters. So what we can do is do padding left, 1 rem on our grid items, and then we'll also want to do a margin bottom of 1 rem. Excuse me. So now we got our spacing, but what we need to do here is do a negative margin on those. So we can do margin left -1 rem. So now when we refresh this, you can see it pulls it back, and now our 3 items span 100% of our container, but we also have our spacing in between each of them. And something that I always like to do personally as well is remove that bottom margin. That way our grid doesn't define anything, or doesn't define any spacing outside of the containing elements. We'll let the container elements outside of the grid define that spacing. So now we got a flush grid with some gutters. Next up, to demonstrate this, we'll want to just take one of our cards, and we're going to create a bit more text in here to show that these are not going to be the same height. Let's also do it to this one as well. So we'll just get rid of it and create some more there. So now you can see we have some varying heights in our card elements. This is more realistic. We're not going to know what content is going to be listed here. It could vary in length, but we also want it to look clean, so we want these cards to span the full height and create equal heights for us. So how about we go and mark that up, or style that up so we can do that. First thing we want to do, let's just add a background on our grid item to see if that is the actual full height that we're looking for. So we can see the grid items are actually all equal height, but we need the cards inside of them to be full height as well. So to start, we can just do a height of 100% on that. And now we got our full equal height grid, but we want to take that a step further because we want this date to be flush on the bottom of our cards. So how we can do that is actually add a display flex on the card as well, and then we'll want to do a flex direction of column. So now we have our cards displayed flex. So now on our card date we actually can do a margin top of auto, and this will shoot them down to the bottom for us as well. And lastly, we can take this background color off, and now we should see we have an equal height flexible grid using Flexbox. So we can see those cards grow as the screen gets smaller. So not much CSS needed to do that. Thanks for watching.